order.
And they just did those little scooter things and ran around like monkeys. It was the best.
Something really important went on my left. All right, we are back to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. There's a flag right there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And up first is the program review. Ray is coming up. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again. As Matt's pulling up the slide deck, just wanted to let the public know that we had a chance to meet in our work session previous to the meeting and walk through a lot of the details. So we're just going to give a quick overview of our process for strategic planning. So my name's Ray Queener. I am owner and principal consultant at Teamworks International, and we're working with the school district on their strategic plan. We are at a break point as we are taking the summer off of from our work, and then we'll pick things back up in September after school's up and running. As a reminder to the board and the public, this is a graphic of our process. We call it classroom to boardroom. And so the graphic starts at the bottom and it works its way up. It's designed to be what we call an up and out process instead of a down and in. And we found that that's a successful way for planning. A couple other key points just as reminders that this is really about a system of planning. Yes, you'll end up with a strategic plan at the end, but it's really about implementing a system. So the good news from a resource standpoint is that I will not call the superintendent in 3 to 5 years and say, let's do it again. That you invest on the front end of this to develop a process and a plan, and then we give the district the tools it needs to keep that plan up to date. So you're always going to have an up-to-date operational plan, up-to-date board governance plan. And what we've seen is that that's really a cost-effective way for planning. Staff then aren't waiting for 5 years for the next thing. It's part of a consistent plan. Where we're at, we've completed 4 steps in our process. The board completed a introduction session in January where we talked about the 3 authorities: governance, management, consultation. Got feedback from the board on the process. In February, we did what we call a story wall, which is a look back at Delano Public Schools. We had 35 years of history on the walls in this room, and we looked at some analytics of that process. So what were the characteristics of successes and challenges, and carried that forward to our next step. The environmental scan is a shift to present day. We look at that through 4 categories. We completed that data as well as looking at trends and influences behind what's going on in the system. And the last step that we've completed so far is the desired daily experiences. And as the board knows, this is what drives our planning. It's what the interested parties, our students, families, and staff say that they want to experience when they engage with school. And as we talked about in the work session, this really turns into what we call preconditions that must be met so that we can do education work. And so we have a draft of those. We will be comparing that draft to data collected previously. The district went through a survey, and if we need to test any of the statements, we'll do so in September. We'll continue on the planning process. As you can see, we do theory of action in September. We will do the building and department strengths and needs in October, and then move into operational planning in December and January. That's where we put all the pieces together and map out what does the operational plan look like over the next 3 years. The board comes back into the work in January with the roadmap. The roadmap is your mission, your vision, your core values, and strategic directions. So making sure everything's in alignment. And then finally we do a school and department improvement plan in June. So as I stated when I first was before you late last fall, great plans that sit on shelves don't make changes for kids. And so we want an implementation plan that actually moves things forward. So we will have that day in June 25, June 25. Got my years mixed up already. So that's a bit of the process. The image here is a picture of what the story wall looked like from one of the time frames from 2009, 2018. We used a timeline, and this group was particularly artistic. I think they had a couple of designers on their team. You can always tell the math teachers, they do the boxes and charts. That's how artistic us math teachers are. And I talked about that. Let me just get to the trends and influences are what was driving things that are on the edge or emerging in the school district. And so the team looked at kind of what's happening, what's giving energy to some of the changes that might be needed. And we also did the same thing for what we call established or ebbing. So what's changing those things that are well established in the school district? A lot of changes happening with still as a fallout of the pandemic. You know, there's still challenges and issues around that, and so that does impact a lot of what's happening in school districts. The desired daily experience drafts, they're in your report, and as I mentioned to the board earlier, a couple things to point out here. These statements are written in what we call I or my language. So they're written to be a personal statement that applies to all students, and they're written as if they are accomplished. So the desire is to write the statement as if it's 5 to 7 years from now that we've already accomplished. I thought there was a great question, are these typical of desired daily experiences that we've seen in other districts? And they really are. They're your interested parties' information on preconditions to do education work. So we have the families. We told parents they have double duty because parents have to wear 2 hats. One, they have to wear a hat of what they want to experience as a parent or family, but also what do they want for their student. So you'll see language here that a family member might say, I am valued as a partner, but you also see language that my child is supported. So they've got 2 types of statements for families. And then the staff draft statements. And again, when we come back together in the fall, we will be testing these against the previous survey data for validity. If there's any that aren't in alignment, we will potentially test those in a spot survey to make sure that we've got a complete picture of desired daily experiences. Next steps, I kind of touched on most of these. Again, the goal is for us to wrap up in June of 2025. One thing I did skip, is you note in the center of the screen, the vision card is the tool that we use to measure progress of your plan's implementation. And so a year from implementation, the Office of the Superintendent and Matt's leadership team will be providing you a report and the public a report on progress being made as we look at measures and metrics in the vision card. So that is kind of where things are at. Additional comments, questions, or insights from board members?
Any additional comments, questions?
I know there was quite a bit of dialogue during the work session, and that helps. I asked Ray to come back, just so the public knows, as we have it on record, that we're in the midst of this process, and it's a good process, and I like the engagement level of where we're at with constituents, both in our organization and in our parent community and our district-wide community. So I just thought it was important at this time to update the board. The board did have a lot of more questions and dialogue during work session, and I think we've achieved our goal to make sure that you are, as the governance body, updated on where we're at and where we're going to go.
Thank you, Ray, for
All right,
presenting.
thank you.
All right. Up next is the consent agenda. Includes the meeting minutes from last month, financial affairs of the district, and all the funds and things like that. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Sarah, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Corey. Any further discussion? All right, move to a roll call vote.
Board Member Dippa,
Aye.
Board Member Johnson,
Aye.
Board Member Baker,
Aye.
and Board Member Black,
Aye.
Board Member Schost,
Aye.
and Board Member Gerke.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next up is the resolution for the acceptance of gifts. Let's get it up here in a second, maybe. Just thinking about it.
It's very short.
Oh, good, because it's not pulling up on my computer.
I'll make a motion.
I think I have to read it first.
Oh.
But I like your optimism. Thank you. That's not pulling up. All right. Whereas DES Pie, $36.90, Inventable and Friends for a Cause, $2,000 for Delano Intermediate School Counseling Department. These gifts have generously been offered to be donated to Delano Public Schools with the conditions listed above. Do we have a motion for the acceptance of gifts? Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Amy. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sarah. Any further discussion? All those, oh no, roll call vote.
Board Member Dippa,
Aye.
and Board Member Johnson,
Aye.
Board Member Baker,
Aye.
Board Member Black,
Aye.
Board Member Schost,
Aye.
and Board Member Gerke.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Following that is personnel matters. And you will see personnel matters are listed. There's about 700 things on there. It is just that time of year. We hire for the summer. People are leaving for the summer. It's a busy personnel matter season. Do we have a motion for personnel matters?
So moved.
Motion by Amy. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ryan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, or any opposed? Motion passes. Following that, administrative reports. First up is Superintendent Shane.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Just going to be very brief with my report. I have just two things I want to update you on, and obviously everything that we do is connected to our district vision. I introduced Home Run Vision to you last month. The Public Relations Committee facilitated a Home Run Vision process to kind of move and some action steps to move forward. I'm here happy to announce that I have convinced Dr. Dave Webb, I think it's Edina, Delano, and potentially Watertown Mayor, who are the ones that are doing probably a little bit more of the deeper work in this area. The app that I use is now going to be free for the next school year for 35 of my leaders in the district. And then it'll be a reduced, quite a bit of a reduced rate of those folks that want to continue to use it in year 2 and beyond. So we're starting to permeate and use this tool more and more. These are my principals, my directors, teacher leaders, QComp leaders, those folks, coordinators, will be assessing. We have a mentorship program. We're going to easily assess what worked well with the new mentorship program with our 2 mentorship coordinators, what could have worked better, and then come to some action steps. So it's a steeped in a continuous improvement model. So we're very, very excited of that. I'm going to be on Thursday laying it out to the cabinet and assigning their free codes, and they'll be able to use it all year long free of charge. So that's really nice, and I'm excited about moving forward in that process. Also, we do have some summer leadership professional training that's going on. We did some through the course of the year with Ray in part of our professional training. We obviously did some additional professional training with Dr. David Webb. Ray brought up the example of artificial intelligence. So the executive leadership team, the cabinet, and the academic leadership team will attend 2 sessions regarding artificial intelligence. William Gruby has worked with hundreds of schools across the United States. His efforts equip educators with tools to prepare students for a world where AI tools are better than what we see today. This is an emerging, this is an edging type of an issue that's hit education. I had a colleague of mine in St. Michael Albertville that worked with her leadership team with it, came back with incredible reviews. He's a very, very young, if you Google him and look him up, he looks like he just left middle school. He actually is a recent graduate, or he's going to be graduating, and he is an incredible entrepreneur that really has taken on the leading edge with education and AI. So we're going to do the leadership team first and then decide moving forward, if that's something that we want to introduce this to our educators, because this is just, it's on the edge in education. AI is here, we know that, but we got to figure out how we do business in education with AI being used by our students all the time. So this will be a good opportunity. Our first session is in June the 12th, and our second session is in August the 9th.
So is there concern around AI on educational integrity?
Yeah.
There's pros AI and there's cons AI, right?
Right, so there's still that whole issue of authenticity of your voice, whether it's writing, doing math, or whatever the case may be. Our teachers are just in this kind of a flux of, hey, I know they're using this tool. How do I change my assessments, my understanding of if they're meeting the standards with or without AI? Some teachers are saying, okay, you be transparent, student. I'm using AI. Great. Then we're going to use a different rubric for you to measure how you are doing that with that tool. Got other students that are saying, I'm not going to use AI. Okay, I'm going to flex that rubric a little bit differently. But it's not systemic yet. And so my point of view is that AI is here, and it's not going away. So how do we change our, if you go out and like in the old days where you write a book report on Napoleon and click, here you go, and write it in 6th grade level or 9th grade level, or write it, I introduce myself as AI, I'm so-and-so, I'm a sophomore at Delano High School in Delano, Minnesota, here's my strengths and needs and whatnot. You basically introduce yourself to the tool and they just draft it that way. So I think teachers just need to start reflecting on, you can't make assignments that way knowing that, plagiarism is being challenged now because everything is accessible on the web. So, but there's still the authenticity of, did you meet the standard? Were you able to do that in math class, in English class, in social studies, all of those things? It's just the opportunity now that if it's here, how do we change business? And how do we make sure that it's a tool that's used appropriately? Because when they enter into the workforce, they're going to be competing against employees that use AI all the time. So there's this whole idea of that, okay, well, we should familiarize our students on how to use this tool and what are the downsides to it, and how do we still make sure that it is authentic, the work that they do with this tool. So there's no clear answer. I think that there's different viewpoints of it, and hopefully William will walk us through that based on what he's done in his research.
Okay. When we were kids, it was the calculator.
Yeah.
Now
Yep.
it's artificial intelligence.
Right.
And I feel old encyclopedias.
Any thoughts of having teachers have experience of training like this?
There are teachers on the academic leadership team.
Okay.
So there's teacher leaders, QComp leaders,
Okay, good.
PD chair. So there are teachers there. They're just in a leadership capacity right now, and then we're going to decide whether we expand it out further. Any other questions?
Any questions for Matt? All right, thank you, Matt. Up next is Ms. Thompson.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening on behalf of the intermediate school. This is our last report with kids in session. Next time we talk will be in June, and I'll feeling much more relaxed. May in the intermediate school is very busy. All really fun things, and the kids are doing great, but it's very busy. So just a little update on what's been going on for us. First with our site-based team. We had our last site-based team meeting last Tuesday. Just kind of spent that time finalizing our year-end plans, lots of different things happening simultaneously, so making sure that communication is clear. And then we just set a summer day for August 5th. We typically try to meet once in the summer to look at our school improvement plan and set some goals for the year. So we'll be meeting in the summer as a team to start looking ahead to the next year. For professional development, we had our 2-hour late start last Wednesday. Traditionally, in DIS, the last 2-hour late start we use to review our FAST data, some of our MCA data, and we look at placing students in interventions for the following year. So we just did some preliminary reviewing of our data, getting kids in classes so we can do some scheduling, knowing that it will change when we do our universal screening again in the fall. We also had Paul Ludwig come and visit our 4th grade teacher, so he could just kind of give us a little preview of some of the kids, some of the needs coming over, which was greatly appreciated by our team just to kind of help bridge that transition. So it was really nice to have Paul come over and chat with them. For MTSS, for our multi-tiered system of supports, I guess I can just report we've finished our final round of assessments. We've done our last round of universal screening for academics, so we did our FAST testing again. 88% of our students hitting their benchmarks in math and 84 hitting them in reading on the FAST test. Our preliminary MCA results were at about 73% in math and 81% in reading, so pretty close to where we were at last year, so just very proud of our kids and our staff for those results. We are going to do a more detailed data day in the fall, just because we didn't have a lot of time to look at them on Wednesdays, and we just want to make sure we look at that data really carefully, so we'll do that in the fall. I have a list of events, but you name it and we are doing it. So 5th grade went to the Saints game. We had a new tour our 6th graders took part in. We have some new science standards. So our 6th graders, you maybe saw, visited the wastewater treatment plant. And I got the privilege of going along to that one. Greg went to the Saints game that day, beautiful day, and I went to the wastewater treatment plant, which was, you can guess who got the short end of the stick on that one. However, I will say it was actually a really fascinating tour. So thank you to Sean, who kind of helped Sarah organize that and give the tour. There are science standards this year in the new 6th grade curriculum that are related to wastewater treatment and that urban water cycle. So it was a really cool experience. It was smelly, in case anyone's wondering. It smelled great, but the kids were great and the tour was really, really actually very interesting. So 5th graders are doing homesteading, their traditional end of the year unit. We've had track and field. 6th grade is doing their wax museum tomorrow, which is kind of their last big project, so 6th grade's working hard on that. We've got our Tigers Got Talent variety show coming up this week. There's a daytime and an evening performance if you'd like to join. We have some very talented students. I've heard there's a bow staff involved at one point, some people on roller skates. It's going to be great. And then we also have some grade level visits happening. The 3rd graders are going to come over this week to tour the school, and our 6th graders are visiting the high school. So we're busy, but we are thankful for a really great year. Our kids did a great job, and I'm thankful to my staff, as always, for all of their hard work. So, comments and questions?
Any questions for Ms. Thompson? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
And up next is high school with Mr. Voigt in the much taller version.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's my pleasure to be speaking here with you this evening on behalf of the high school. Again, I'm here for Mr. Voigt, who had some family obligations to tend to today. I'd like to start with a few recognitions. Thank you to parent volunteer Maria Nellis, who has just completed her 20-year tenure on DHS PI, which is Partners in Education. It is a parent organization that looks to support our staff and students. They support field trips, staff appreciation, and classroom requests that go above and beyond what the typical instructional budget will support. So thank you to Maria for her time of service. On Wednesday, May 8th, we had Senior Awards Night. We had the pleasure of honoring our senior class with numerous awards and recognitions. Most impressively, however, is that we were able to hand out over $110,000 worth of scholarships on behalf of local organizations and DASA, which is Delano Area Scholarship Association. If you want to participate in DASA or PI, get in touch with the high school office and we will direct you appropriately. Some other recent high school news: April and May are big testing months for us in the high school as well. We have completed all of our MCA testing as well as AP testing in several disciplines. The last of our FAST testing will be occurring soon, with the 7th through 10th grade math and reading testing taking place in their respective classes and makeups happening during our win time. And last but not least, we have implemented our last round of SABRS and My SABRS testing, which is filled out by both students and staff to help understand the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our students. Our site-based leadership team has been hard at work making some adjustments to our WIN and advisory schedule for the 24-25 school year. We have decided to move our WIN/advisory time to the middle of the day, specifically after period 4. So this year we were doing WIN time at the end of the day and advisory after period 4. There were some issues with having win at the end of the day, so we decided it was much better served to have it after period 4 and then be consistent with both win and advisory times. So we'll be using the advisory time for social and emotional learning for our 7th and 9th grade students and career and college planning for our 10th to 12th grade students. Along with the career and college planning, the students had a soft launch of our new Zello program, which is XELLO. So it's a new program we'll be using mainly for our 9th to 12th grade students coming up in the fall. But the students are going to be gaining access or have gained access to us already. And there's a lot of things that they can kind of play around with and look into in that system to talk about careers and college readiness for them. And finally, we are also obviously looking forward to graduation on Sunday, May 2nd. So with that, I want to thank you for your time on behalf of the high school. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Monkey?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And up next, elementary school, Ms. Schultz.
A little shorter than Mr. Monkey.
It's
Good evening, everybody. Happy to be here on behalf of the elementary this evening. Quick update for you from our site base, similar to what Ms. Thompson shared. We're kind of doing the end of year wrap up, gathering the feedback. We have a day planned in August for some of our retreat time, kind of planning our goals and things like that. We also shared with our site-based team that we were awarded a grant that Janelle Olson had written through Prairie Care to receive trauma and resilience training. So that'll be taken during workshop week for part 1, and then part 2 will be in January. So we're excited to have that for our students and our staff. And then also, we're just kind of looking ahead at what additional things that we can add into our kind of responses to what needs that we have, knowing that we are reducing in one of our intervention positions and one of our SEL positions. So we're kind of getting creative with what's available. And like, for example, we have reading core, but we don't have math core. So we're gonna look at applying for that so we can get some of that more intervention based within our school. So kind of a brainstorm towards the end of the year with our site-based team, and then looking specifically at goals to set once we get going again in the summer. Fast update for you. I thought I would break down a little bit of what we do at the elementary because it ranges in what we are doing compared to as they get older. So a couple of things that we look at is the CBMR, which is that fluency-based measures. So that's that initial foundational rate and accuracy that the kids are reading. It is the biggest indicator for us when they are young of that reading progress, and it's also our dyslexia screener. So those numbers are important to us. Our first graders are at 72%, second grade is at 70%, and third is at 74%. Once they kind of have that fluency piece, then we move into that A reading, which that is that comprehension and vocabulary aspect of reading. Our first grade is at 68%, and that one is dipped down because they transition from the early reading, which is one-on-one administered test, to then going into the A reading, which is independent on the computer for the first time. So it's quite a big of a leap in what they're getting assessed on, and also kind of testing their navigational skills using a Chromebook and kind of understanding what the questions are asking them. Second grade is at 70%, and third grade is at 78%. And then we also have A math, which measures that general math foundational skills for our kids. First grade is at 79%, second is at 75%, and third is at 75%. And kindergarten is kind of its own little island on its own, and they do early math and early reading all throughout the year. So our spring data for our kindergartners for early reading was 82%, and our early math was 90%. A quick update for you on our summer school and ESY programming. NTKC will also be housed at the elementary this year. We have 4 sections of K through 3, and then we also were able to find 1 additional staff member to do a K1 combo class. And the goal of our summer school and ESY is always to maintain and prevent regression. We don't have the staff and the capacity to kind of close a lot of those gaps, but we don't want kids to regress further. So that's the intent of our summer school program. And also, we have lots of fun happening. We had our field day this year. Last week, we had great weather. It was really dicey right up until like 8:50, and it started at 9, and then the skies cleared and it was sunny and beautiful. We had lots of volunteers and we had spectators back. So we had a lot of happy parents that were able and grandparents that were able to come and watch their kids play and experience a lot of different games. It was really a lot of fun. Our third grade concert and art showcase is this Thursday. And then our third graders are heading to DIS to check out the building that they will be a part of next year. So hopefully can ease a few of those nerves that they are having right now, but they are also very excited. And then we kind of wrap things up with our all-school picnic on the 28th. Questions or comments?
Any questions, comments, Michelle? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Next up is Business Manager Mary Reeder.
During the work session, we talked about the 24-25 preliminary budget. We're looking at an anticipated deficit of about $616,000 going into next year, which puts the unassigned fund balance a little, about 4.2 million at about a 13%. The board's fund balance limit is 12%, so we're still above that 12% limit, at least for one more year, which I'm excited about. I anticipate that the unassigned fund balance this year will be around 15%. So we're just going down a couple of percent going into next year. Next year, the budget does reflect a slight decrease in enrollment by about 5 students, very small. Again, legislatively, we know we're getting a 2% increase on the Gen Ed formula next year. After that, we don't know. It'll be up to the legislative session, but we do know that inflation was built into that going forward. So we know that at least it's going to, at this point, they're projecting it to be a little over 2% each year in the following years after that. There is a legislative forum recap on June 4th. Matt and I will be attending that up at Resource Training and Solutions, and anything that affects revenue and or expenditures that comes out of the legislative session will be reflected in the final original budget that will be approved by the board in June. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Up next, community education.
Yes, you may.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here to talk about community ed and activities. Last month I talked about our registration numbers. I'll just give you a quick update on that. We're over 2,100 enrollments for summer, and that's just our activities. Last time I talked in that first week, we had 900 enrollments. So every day we're averaging anywhere 20, 25 enrollments in the number of classes and activities we offer. On the TKC side, a couple things are happening. One, we're planning our transition as we move over to DES for the summer. That tends to be a relatively big chore in conjunction with our building principals who accommodate us there every year. And we will be having over 300 children in the program. We continue to try to add more. Even at 300, we still have kids on the wait list. Staff, physical space, how do we manage that? But again, it continues to be something that will grow. The need for childcare is not going away, and we'll do our best to accommodate as many as we can. On the hiring side, we have a couple things going on right now. We have some higher profile coaching positions that we're interviewing for currently. Both our head boys basketball and head girls soccer are jobs that will be concluding our interview process in the next week and a half. And then we are looking at candidates currently for our ECFE coordinator position. That's an important hire for us in community education as we replace Don Hilgers. But we have candidates coming in and we look to kind of finalize who we're going to interview by the end of the week. And then the transition piece too. After we had hired a new AD that will start with us in July, she's been willing to work with us as we transition. So we did some interviews today with coaching candidates. We had her come in and join us. And we're trying to be very proactive on how we integrate her into what we're doing, try to give her as many opportunities to get acquainted. So when she officially starts July 1st, she can be off and running. So we're going to be proactive there. And then on the activity side, we have, how spring builds is, You know, you're trapped inside. You get to go outside, you get rain days, you go back. All the games start getting really compact, and then there's a sprint to the finish. And that's where we're at now. So regular season has wrapped up for some of our activities. For the rest, it wraps up really quickly, and then we're all into section play. So we had some successes this year. Our softball won the conference championship, had number 1 seed in sections. So they have a first round bye tomorrow, and they'll play their first game on Thursday. Girls track won conference, also won True Team for the first time in history. This past weekend, they competed at True Team State and took 6th. Sections start this weekend, next week for both boys and girls track. Baseball section play starts next week. They won the wood bat tournament this weekend, so that's exciting. And then both boys and girls lacrosse took 2nd in conference, and again, sections will start next week for them. So it gets really busy. We'll be hosting some things, but they're kind of off and running, and then we see what happens from here on out. So, and the only other thing, I'm not a soapbox guy, but I do have the microphone. So, you know, when we talk about community ed and we talk about it as that building over there, I just want to remind us that anytime we get the opportunity to talk about community ed as more as a concept, to take that opportunity, that community ed isn't just the 4th building off campus, that it really is a concept. And the things that where community ed does best is when you're fully integrated into the system, that what we do takes place regardless of what the building is. So anytime you have an opportunity as board members or as administrations to talk about community ed, anytime you can use that tone as far as talking about it as a concept and that we're fully integrated, I think the better off we are as a system complete. So I'm off the soapbox.
Good
So.
point. Very good point.
Any questions on community ed activities? I can take those at this time.
I will just follow up too, Amy, you had asked a question about the capacity of the building, the size of the building. We no longer can do summer programming. We're beyond the capacity of it. It's a problem, but it's a good problem to
Yeah.
have. as we move forward.
No, I'd love to see it integrated into our campus up here, to be honest. I know it's not a reasonable request, but
Yeah.
For your guys' open stuff, the ECFE and the coaching positions, are you getting good candidates, like a lot of them, or decent quantity, or are you guys kind of dealing with mixed?
I would say it's kind of a mixed bag depending on the position.
Yeah.
You know, boys basketball, we interviewed 5 quality candidates today
Yeah.
as part of our process, so I think that's great. The early childhood position, I think, is going to be more challenging. There's a number of those positions, coordinator level positions, that are open, and in our region, they're open.
Yeah.
So I've looked at, we have some quality candidates that come through. So, you know, if you get 3 or 4 that are interviewable, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Girls soccer is the different one, where I think we have maybe 1 or 2 candidates total so far.
Okay.
So, and it's kind of a mixed bag, so.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, up next is our student board representatives.
I know.
Just gonna cry.
Well, it's a pretty light week. DHS child development students, we're partnering with 3rd graders for social development through gameplay, and then fast testing is also wrapping up for the year. And then in the intermediate school, they went to a Saints game, and then they also have their wax museum projects, and they have a talent show as well. And I just want to compliment the events going on with Rachel Schultz, and especially the rest of the grade is, or not Rachel Schultz, Katie Thompson, I'm sorry, but also Rachel Schultz. But the events planned,
Mr. Monkey too.
and Mr. Monkey too. But
Finish strong, Willie, come on.
the events planned throughout the grade levels. I mean, I just don't think I experienced that much, especially, which I got a lot, but that's just a lot, and I think it's a round of applause, especially because all those students are doing super fun things. And then one thing in the high school I wanted to comment on is the senior awards night was the 8th, and then I actually focused a little bit more on seniors for my last month. I watched some senior awards. That was interesting and pretty funny, actually. And then another thing I want to talk about too was I had, which I'm gonna go over to Sophie in a sec, but I got the Care 11 meteorology team to speak at our school. It was gonna be in May, but since it was kind of last minute, it'll be September or October. So I'll communicate with Sophie as well on that. But yeah.
Nice. And then for the high school, as Mr. Monkey mentioned, full of testing, MCAs and fast testing. And the culture of testing this year was much better due to the switch over to testing during advisory time. As an end-of-year recap, many students had mixed emotions about the new schedule, but generally regarding the new schedule, they said they enjoyed it compared to what they expected. The process for the new school board student rep went really well and smoothly, so that is exciting. And then next year, just a lot of new implementation Mr. Voigt and I are talking through, including a new monthly advisory panel full of students, which will kind of help us get more student voices. Other than that, finals and seniors' last day are coming up quickly, which is crazy. A little crazy also on the sports side of everything. I think a lot of students, with leaving early and stuff, but generally everybody is ready to be done.
And just to make it public for the public record, Logan Wermager is the next student school board representative that will be partnering with Sophia as the incoming junior representative. And also I would like to add, this is Willie's last school board meeting as his senior term is coming to an end, and we do two things. One very important thing is we give the ceremonial plaque that Willie has at City Hall. We bequeath that to him and congratulate him on finishing his term successfully as our student school board representative.
Thank you.
The other thing too is, I think just about every senior school board representative has made an application. I always try to get the information out to that senior student, to the Minnesota School Boards Associations. They have student school boards from across the state. We have yet to get one to win the scholarship, but we do have a signed certificate of appreciation from the Executive Director of the Minnesota School Boards Association and the MSBA President. And I'd like to offer that and give that to Willie too as well, and wish him all the best with his future endeavors.
Thanks.
And we're gonna miss those awkward moments next year where you congratulate the wrong person. All of that fun stuff. Do we want a photo? with
Sure.
him? I mean, he looks nice in his shorts, and he's gonna tell us where he's gonna go to school next year.
Am I, oh,
Just
A photo or with the?
do you want this in it too? Oh, okay.
Did you shake hands again?
Should I open this?
You really have to give him direct instructions. It's Willie.
This is so natural.
This is supernatural.
There we go.
Thank you.
There we go.
We'll miss him. All right, up next is board reports, starting with Rec Tech Center. Minnesota
I
Patch.
was unable to attend due to a work trip that I took, and I apologize that I didn't reach out to this group sooner to see if I could get us up, but I wasn't able. The minutes are posted.
Minutes are attached, so if you have any questions after reading them, we'll find you an answer.
Yes.
All right, up next is Masiko.
I attended Montseco. I'll be very brief. I'll just highlight two things. Minutes are posted. We did have a resignation at Village Ranch Alternative Program, so they are actively pursuing replacement there for a program administrator. Hopefully we'll have an update. We won't have our meeting until next Tuesday due to the Memorial holiday, but hopefully we'll have an update to that. And then the majority of the meeting was a look at our FY25 preliminary budget. So, two very important things. Everything else is pretty standard.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Any questions for Amy? Sounds good. All right, old business. Up first is 12A, approve the second read of policy 621, the literacy and the READ Act. Do we have a motion? Oh, wait. Do we have any public comment on literacy and the READ Act? All right. Do we have a motion to approve policy 621?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Amy. For a second.
I'll second.
Second by Sarah. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I'm gonna get used to adding the public comment part.
It's new.
It's gonna take me a little bit. Alright, new business. Approve the bread and milk quotes for the 2024-2025 school year. We're gonna have a problem because we're missing a certain bakery on here.
They opted not to give us a quote again this year. Again, we only got one quote each for Chems and for Panagold. We did not get anything else from any of the other bread vendors.
Corey,
but
did you reach out to Bimbo Bakeries?
I did, no response.
They said no, thank you, not this year. So anyway, milk, that's an escalating thing, goes up and down with the market, but the bread products is a fixed cost and they're, increasing quite a bit. We don't use much purchased bread products. They do a lot of their own baking. They have their own proofers and stuff like that. So I think that's part of the reason why we see a little higher increase on the bread is that we just don't purchase as much as we used to in prior years. But the recommendation is that we go with Panagold for the bread products and Chems for the milk products for the upcoming school year.
When you guys do that process, how do you reach out or open it up to
Yes.
multiple vendors and it's just that only one submitted basically?
Yep,
There's no
so-
way to coax more into bidding for us?
Well, I try sending it out to multiples every year.
Yeah.
And the two bread companies, it's the Bimbo Bakeries and Panagold. And Bimbo, the last 2 years, has opted not to give us a quote, but Panagold always does. But with the milk products, we find out from other schools who they use, so I send them directly the specs and the request for a quote. And what we find out is that they're all interrelated, so they won't, so like I sent it to one, and I got a quote back from the other one saying, I heard from my sister company that you sent out a quote to them, I didn't get it. Well, I had emailed it to that gentleman, and he had replied to me, but had forgotten. So the other one would not give us a quote because they're sister
Gotcha.
companies. So
Interesting.
we have not had any luck trying to get multiple milk vendors.
So
Yeah,
maybe
it's,
It's an
a
incestual
dairy
relationship
farm, an
with milk
FFA,
vendors.
and just start making our own milks.
Called a monopoly.
Yeah, go
Don't like
get
it.
the cows.
Is this a dumb question that food is free at school and we charge extra for milk and bread, or?
So that actually was one of the bills that was in the legislature. I don't know if it passed or not. I was told we'll find that out in June. But that was something that one of the legislators was bringing up, that why isn't milk free? So I don't know if that actually got passed or not, but we'll find out. I have not heard anything on that specifically yet.
Utterly ridiculous.
Utterly ridiculous.
See what I did there?
He had to. For this board meeting is going right
He's here
now.
every Monday evenings, folks.
Meeting's going downhill quickly. So, on that, do we have a motion to approve the bread and milk quotes for the 24?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Corey. We have a second by, was that Ryan?
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion? Please no. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Up next is approve the DIS student handbook. Matt,
I'll make
we
the
discussed- All right. Motion by Amy, second by Corey. And is that considered policy, Matt? I haven't even looked under that.
No, just requires action.
Cool. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's make this lots of fun. Up next is approve the DHS handbook. By the way, we talked about all of these last month. We have a motion to approve the DHS handbook.
I will move to approve.
Motion by Ryan,
Second.
second by, I'm assuming that was Corey.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And I'm surprised, DES handbook. I knew it was coming. Do we have a motion to approve DES handbook?
I'll move.
Motion by Sarah, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Amy. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And finally, public comment. School patrons are given the opportunity to address the school board regarding items that are not on the agenda. All patrons will be asked to state their name and address for the record. While the board appreciates feedback from the public forum, the board members will not comment on or discuss topics brought up by speakers at this time. Bobby, do we have anybody for public comment?
No, ma'am.
All right, and seeing no one here, we will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Amy, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Corey. This meeting is adjourned.